be a lawyer. I went to school and got a political science degree. I started to look at law school, and I saw how people were living while they were in law school and what the demands were after that. And I thought, I gave myself a real lifestyle quiz, and I wanted a family, I wanted certain things, and my friends that I was talking to were putting all of that to the side, and they've had great careers, and I probably would have been great too. But I thought, is that what I started to question it. Before I make this big leap, is this what I want to do? And I always worked in summer camps. I always worked in summer camps. And my dad was a teacher and an administrator, and he retired as a superintendent somewhere else in the state. And he would say, you can do well or you can do good. If you're teaching, you're probably going to do good, do good for others. You might not do as well as you would if you were a lawyer, on when payday comes around. I just kept getting pulled back. And I don't even know what the final decision was, because I wasn't subbing. I was working in a personnel department in a company outside of Philadelphia. And I decided to apply to the school I had gone to for 3 years, which was Mansfield, as a graduate assistant in education. And so I don't know that there was a light bulb. When I was a kid, I wanted to, but for a long time, I really thought I got that political science degree. I really thought that's what I wanted to do. And I most likely would have chosen to be an English teacher, but at that point, I'm looking at my transcript, and it matched with history. I had never had revolutionary history teachers when I was a kid. It was always the Treaty of Ghent. This was the year. These were the 5 points. The Treaty of Versailles. This is the year. It was never interesting. I only had one, and he stood on the desk when he talked to us, and I loved him. So I went with social studies and couldn't get a job in 1990 in social studies, but I also had reading certification, and that's how I got in the door here in Owego. Then someone retired 5 years later. So that's how I guess it was working in those camps, because I was always leading stuff, always organizing groups of kids, extra trips. I worked in Watkins Glen, always leading the songs and everything. And I don't know. I just think it was, I do think, it sounds corny too, I do think it's an avocation. I don't think, if you're not, you can see the most timid, mousy little student teacher walk in, and the bell rings, and they transform into a completely different person. They've got it. Then you can see someone who's very outgoing and this, that, and the other thing. As soon as they're facing 25 kids, they don't know what to do. So either you can or you can't. I think the kids are the most fascinating human beings. I could shut the door and not talk to anybody all day long, which is no reflection on my colleagues, because I love all of them. But they're fascinating human beings. There's a depth to a 7th grader people don't realize is there. I had a real terrible illness once, years and years ago, and they wrote me cards, great big ones. And the things they wrote in the cards, like lyrics to their favorite songs because they wanted me to know them, or that they were saying prayers for me every day, and that it wouldn't be the same until I'm back. Like, I didn't realize they had that depth of understanding. They're the most interesting people in the world. Here's an interesting thing when you're in a town for 32 years and you don't bring children home till you're 40. I raised my boys alongside students that I had, raising their kids. So when I retired, I made my speech thinking I wasn't coming back. I said, be nice to your kids, your students, because you never know. Your child might be staying at their house, or having a play date with them. But they're the most interesting people in the world. So that's what I love about it. I do like I like checking things off. I like doing grades. I love research and planning. And now that my kids aren't home, I just can do that whenever I want. And I used to feel guilty because, you're trying to do everything. But, it's at the end of the day, it starts and ends with them. And the rest of it it's just gravy,